Nothing lasts forever. But no thing lasts forever. Because forever is not a thing. If anything is anything, and everything is something, can everything be one thing and everyone be one? The animals, 2 by 2, were walking up the ramp onto Noah's Ark. A tribe of meerkats started walking up the ramp, and Noah went, "Whoa, up fellas. Only 2 of you can get on my ark." The meerkats were confused. "What do you mean? There's only one of us." When I was a young boy, I misheard my kindergarten teacher. And I said, "What?" "Matthew Jackson, at this kindergarten we say, 'I beg your pardon.'" I say what? 30 minutes later, my mum picked me up from kindergarten. The poem, the joke, and the story were all inspired by my personal struggle to be an individual without losing my sense of belonging to a group. Thank you, Chris Wall, for this illustration that helped me to make you all laugh. But most of all, thank you, Chris, for your curiosity in expression and pose. My struggle with being an individual and asserting that individuality without losing the sense of belonging became much easier when I had a change of perspective. That happened about 3 years ago after I rang my friend at midnight for about 6 weeks. My dear friend Sam, who is a philosopher of language at UCLA, and I asked him, "Let's solve this affect-effect thing, Sam." No. No. I asked him, what would change if we placed more importance on the affect of our actions than on the effect of our actions? He said, "Matt, what makes you think we're not doing that already?" In the industrial era, if I make more of these knives faster, cheaper, more often than you, I'm winning. In the information era, if I produce more information faster, cheaper, more often than you, I'm winning. But we're not in the industrial era anymore. And we're not in the information era anymore. We're here, now, today. And we have too much information. And we have too many things. In 1 week, you all process more information than your grandparents did in a whole year. So I believe what we desire more than anything else today is a filter. And I think that filter for me is if you can move my heart and mind. If you can move my heart and mind, not only will I let it through, but I'll share it with somebody else. No money, not even any effort today, and it spreads. So the filter, whether it moves your heart and mind, would be affect. So to understand the difference, James Briscoe, is an animator who made this animation so that we can visualize affect and effect. This is a young boy who has an ice cream cone. And he is very happy about having that ice cream cone. Now I want you to imagine what would happen if I pushed that ice cream That there is the affect. That there is the effect. Singling in on nouns now. Now, judging by the noises you made, the affect came first. Not on the screen, but what you reacted to, what you imagined, what you will recall, and what you will remember from now on. So, again, I believe, what would happen if we thought, before we acted, about the affect of our actions more than we thought about the effect of our actions? My pet orange. A linear relationship is a cause and effect relationship. We like them because they're predictable. I can predict where that orange will stop based on force, friction, and mass. And we love cause and effect relationships and their predictability. Ooh. That was unpredictable. Because they drove advances in industry and technology. But thinking back to that wonderful boy that the animation of the boy that James did, because he has such an interest in faces and hands. As soon as you put a human being in there, as soon as you put communication in there, as soon as you put a relationship in there, it's no longer linear. It's circular. When I get nervous on stage and my voice cracks and my hands shake, it makes you feel nervous. I can tell because your behavior becomes quite awkward, your pose and your face. That makes me feel really awkward. So I can have an effect on you, and you can have an effect on me. As a person who was able to kick an orange from here to there, I produced an effect. And there is a word to describe me in that case. I am an effector. But what amazed me was every time I tried to tell the computer that there was a word that described the fact that I could have an effect on you and you could have an effect on me, the computer said, spelling error, or it auto-corrected it to affector. This is me having a conversation with a person who likes linear relationships, yeah? Affector. I did find an example of somebody described as an affector, and it's sitting in the Louvre in Paris, and it's a vase. Now, they were able to recognize this painter in order to call him the affector because of the ornate decorative garbs and the highly affected gestures and poses. They said that he got distracted, and that's why he didn't draw an accurate figure, distracted by the garments and the poses. They said he was overly sensitive and emotional. So affecteur to the French meant affected in the passive sense. Overly sensitive and emotional. That sounds like an artist. Especially if we only have a word that describes it in the passive form. Affecteur also has another meaning, which means to pretend or feign knowledge. So I can say that I can pretend to move your heart and mind. I can say that my heart and mind is moved by something, but I can't say in the active form that I can sincerely, actively move your heart and mind. Now, if we don't have a word for that, I can only believe we don't acknowledge it. If we don't acknowledge it, how can we place any importance on it? If we can't place any importance and acknowledge on it, how can we value it and how can we encourage it? I'm now beginning to understand why here, now, today, we have too much stuff and too much information. I can also understand why we are more logically connected to each other than we've ever been before in history, and yet we feel more emotionally disconnected than ever before in history. Friends, likes are now measurable effects, causing a rising wave of narcissism and selfishness. Now, I am certainly not criticizing a younger generation, I will admit. I'm scared by the tendencies I recognize in myself. But I'm very lucky to have a support group, captained by my wife, my family, and my friends, who know that I struggle with this. I'm standing up here as an individual, talking to an audience, and I can feel disconnected. So, it's not that we place more importance on the effector than the affector. We rule out the affector altogether in our language, the medium we use to communicate with each other more than any other medium. 3 principles I'd like to share with you that help me. They help me assert myself as an individual without losing the sense of belonging. The first one is emptiness. If I let my nerves, my mood, affect the way I communicate with you, it will affect your behavior. I won't be able to take this as a new situation. I won't be present. I wouldn't have met the wonderful people I met before because I'd be carrying my nerves all the way from the moment I woke up this morning to the time I stood on stage. So the first thing I need to do is empty myself. Leave some room for a new experience or a new person to have an effect on me. Now, I told you, I struggle with this. I'm a poet and I'm a business owner. I can hold on to a mood for a very long time. A wise man told me a story that helped me understand this folly. And I tell that story in my mind every time I do it. And I'm going to tell that story right now. A Zen master and his protege went for a walk one morning. And they went for this walk and they came to a fast-flowing river. On the side of that river, the near side, there was a wet, naked, beautiful young woman. She was distraught. The Zen master said, "What's the problem?" She said, "I want to get across the other side of the river." He said, "It's not a problem." He picked her up on his shoulder and he carried her across the river. The protege was like, the Zen master put her down on the other side of the river and he and his protege continued on a walk. Nothing was said for hours except the protege saying, for hours. Irritating, yeah? But the Zen master stayed calm. He's a Zen master. By early afternoon, they turn around and the Zen master says, "Doesn't the afternoon sun look beautiful through the trees?" Nothing from the protege. They walk a bit further. "Doesn't the afternoon sun feel beautiful on your face?" Nothing from the protege. Seconds later, the protege goes, "I can't stand it any longer. Master, I cannot believe you touched that woman with your hands." Zen master is shocked, but calm. He says, why are you still holding on to her? I put her down hours ago. Empathy. Empathy is as simple. Empathy isn't complicated. It's as simple as laughter. Healing through your feeling being felt by another. The sense that we're all related to each other. I love laughter. For that moment, I feel like in a world where there is no objective reality, that you and I share the same reality. For that moment, we're laughing together. It's the purest form of empathy I have ever experienced. The problem with empathy, what makes it not more complicated but difficult, is that from the age of 2, we start slicing up our identity. The finer I slice my identity, the narrower my reality. Empathy is a way to be me without losing we. Pink, blue. Academic, sporty. Emotional, rational. And for me, arts, commerce. When I bought a business 10 years ago to manage artists because I thought that they would be the people that I would feel more connected to than anyone else in the world, I said, I have to be the business person, they get to be the artist. For 10 years, I didn't write a single poem. That was my reality. A year ago, my son Rip was born. He lives his life full of curiosity and wonder. His reality is so multifaceted, I was inspired. It's his first birthday party tomorrow. Since the day he was born, I have written 257 poems. You can build your reality back to a multifaceted sphere with empathy. Sphere, hemisphere, quadrant, segment, slither. Segment, quadrant, hemisphere. Your reality is yours. The last one, encouragement. If I say to you in a conversation out there, and please have one with me, if anybody disagrees with anything I've said, it's an opportunity for me to learn, so please ask me questions out there. But if I say to you, you're smart, I can see it in your face. Your head goes 2 places. One is, who are you to say that? The other one is, what external measure are you using to determine that? We lose the connection. You've gone somewhere else. The worst thing is if I do another riddle and you get it wrong, you think you're going to lose the whole thing. So I introduce fear. But what if I said, I love the way you think? We stay here. Next time you compliment someone, think of what you are really appreciating and encourage it. I love Chris Wall's passion for expression and pose. I love James Briscoe's interest in faces and hands as forms of communication. And I want them to share those things with me more and more and more. It's not the skill, it's not the effect, it's not the result. It's the affect they have on me. And when I encourage rather than compliment, I understand what I appreciate about people more, and it connects me to them. I also understand myself better because I understand what I appreciate. Thomas Hoare said, in order to understand himself, man must be understood by another. In order to be understood by another, man must understand the other. I'm going to leave you with a question. You thank me for your bravery. But in reality, My inception was your conception. You inspire me. What am I? Thank you.